Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I will be answering the Google's most frequently asked hamster questions, or like answering hamsters most Google questions, if you know what I'm trying to say. I'm probably going to answer about 6 questions of these, just whichever ones that I think are questions that are either very like misconception or like a lot of people may not know. So if you would like to see the most frequently asked questions about hamsters on Google, be sure to just keep on watching. I'm gonna start off really simple and just be like, why does my hamster? Okay, the first one that I see that obviously is very common is, why does my hamster bite me? So hamsters can bite you for several reasons: out of fear, out of just your hand tasting like food, or not tasting but smelling like food if you just ate. Some hamsters just don't like being touched or messed with much, so if you keep messing with them and they don't want it, they might bite you just to let you know, hey, don't touch me right now, I'm not exactly in the mood for it. Some hamsters just aren't tamed yet, so if you get a new hamster and your hamster's biting you, that hamster might not be tamed. Or if you came from a bad breeder, same thing can apply. They might just not been handled much. So there are many reasons why your hamster might bite you. Another one that's like still right here says, why does my hamster sleep so much? Hamsters are nocturnal, which means to you it looks like they're sleeping a lot because throughout the day they are asleep, but at night your hamster is completely awake, as many of us know. So your hamster's actually not sleeping so much. Y'all's sleep schedule just completely opposite. Someone asked, why does my hamster smell bad? Hamsters actually don't have a smell. If you're smelling something from your hamsters, they could have had diarrhea recently, or are having diarrhea, so you might be smelling that. Or it can just simply just be the cage not smelling good, which means it's probably time to clean up their cage. But hamsters actually don't have a smell. As long as you keep everything clean, you would actually notice. Okay, let's see. Let's try, how does my hamster? Someone asked, how does my hamster keep escaping? It depends on what kind of cage it's even in. If you have any like flimsy, cheap plastic cage, your hamster's probably gonna be able to escape from it just from like the bars being able to bend or them being squeezed through. If there's like a little door opening, they can get through there. It just depends on what kind of cage your hamster is actually in, and if it's actually a way for it to be closed really well. But some hamsters also have the sense of urgency to escape, just simply because they want out their cage. They need more space. They're stressed out in their cage. Someone asked, how does my hamster chew on his cage? It's not really a how, it's more like a why. I mean, it's just mainly from stress or like needing something to chew on to wear down their teeth. Hamsters' teeth are always naturally growing, so you always gotta keep chew toys to make sure they are staying down. I'm gonna say, what my hamster? Somebody could, if my hamster bites me. If your hamster bites you, just gently put them back. I know your instincts might be to like go like this or whatever, but try to gently put them back. Go wash your hands and clean it to make sure it's sanitized, because you don't want to risk anything happening. And someone said, what is my hamster eating his bedding? Which is mainly why. Your hamster isn't actually eating their bedding, they're pouching their bedding just so they can carry it to wherever they want to put it, which is usually within their little home sleeping area. Hamsters have really big cheeks. They can carry a ton of different things in there and different sizes. You'll be actually surprised when you're seeing your hamster put something in their pouch and you're like, can you get it? Like, are you sure? And they're like always so adamant about trying to get it in their pouch. They actually have like really big pouches that can extend really far and hold a lot. So your hamster isn't eating the bedding, your hamster is just gathering material for nesting. Someone asked, what's my hamster breed? There's tons of videos online by YouTube about learning your hamster breed, which one you have. But the most common ones that you would more than likely have is a Syrian hamster, a Campbell dwarf hamster, a Chinese hamster, and a Robo hamster. So those are usually the kind of hamsters that you're gonna have, if just the way that hamster breeds are nowadays. Of course, there is more, but those are the common ones that you will more than likely have if you used to have a pet hamster. But most hamsters aren't just straight up Campbell dwarf anymore. Most of them are hybrids, so you just gotta like look at pictures and figure out which one exactly you have. It's actually pretty easy. You also have winter whites as well, but I feel like that got to be classified with your dwarf hamsters. But you can always just look at pictures, look at characteristics, look at like features that common breed of hamster has, and you'll be able to figure out exactly which one you have. Someone said, what can my hamster eat? Hamster can actually eat a lot of foods, including like your meats, your eggs, of course the regular hamster food, sunflower seeds, herbs, which is basically flowers. You have birds, you have different ton of variety of treats, but they can actually eat a lot of things and more other human foods. They can actually eat a lot of foods. Of course, if you're giving them like eggs or chicken or anything like that, make sure it's cooked. Make sure you don't put any added seasonings in it. And yeah, your hamster actually can eat a lot more things that you think. You can also fix them even pancakes. So like, and of course like a lot of your berries they can have. But if you want like a really deep intel video about like what your hamster can actually eat, I will leave a video probably in the description box or linked up here. Let's say, why does my hamster? Someone said, why is my hamster shaking? Your hamster could just be completely scared and fearful, and they're basically frozen because they don't want to move or make any sudden movements, because maybe you startled them, maybe you've moved too fast for them to be able to be comfortable with. Why is my hamster losing hair? If your hamster is losing hair, it can be due to the age of your hamster, because once they get older, their hair will like start to thin out. It can also due to diet. So if you're not feeding them the right thing and you're feeding them like a lot of hay or just not the right balanced diet that they need, they can lose a lot of fur. Lose a lot of their hair, just like humans or like any other animals. If you're not eating and putting the right thing in your body doesn't have the right nutrients to be able to do everything that, you know, that's like quote unquote normal. A lot of people are asking about like climbing the cage, buying the cage, escaping. Those are all lined up with the exact same thing as my previous answer. That your hamster just might be stressed out, the cage too small, or just anything like that, like I mentioned at first. Those are all like around the same thing of an answer. Someone said, is my hamster dead or hibernating? This is something that you really want to be careful of when you have a hamster, to make sure that your hamster's actually your hamster actually passed away and not hibernating or going into like any states. I guess you could say a safer way to check is obviously you can pick up your hamster and find out that way. You can, if you notice your temperature is like really cold or really hot, that will also be a telltale sign possibly that maybe they went to a certain state and that's what they're doing and they're not dead. But also if your hamster is hibernating, you want to be careful at the same time, and you want to try to get them out of that as soon as you can, because you don't want them hibernating too long, because if they're hibernating, they're not eating or drinking anything, so you definitely want to get them out that state fast. But a way that you can tell is even just sometimes you can leave your hamster sitting there for maybe like a day or two. You can put the food bowl, water bowl right next to them, because maybe your hamster just isn't really moving instead, so like they don't want to walk far. But if you want to know if your hamster's dead, just put the food and water next to them. See if you see anything leaving or if the water is getting lower. Like remember how much you're putting of each and like what you put. But you can leave your hamsters in there, and if you're noticing days are passing and your hamster still isn't moving, you're not seeing any signs of breathing, you picked your hamster up and it's like cold to the touch or like hard, then like your hamster's more likely passed away. Someone said, how often should I feed my hamster? This is kind of up to you. Some people feed their hamsters every day. Some people feed their hamsters every other day. It just depends on which one you prefer. I personally feed every other day, but sometimes like the day in between, instead of giving like actual food, I'll just give like a treat or two, just like something that's a snack, or even I'll just put herbs down or like a spray or something. So how often you feed your hamster is completely up to you. But personally, I do it every other day just to limit the chances of my hamster becoming a picky eater, because I've tried feeding every day with a hamster before, and my hamster literally just became a picky eater and would leave like half the food sitting out. So now I feed every other day and I just put a treat in between. How to make my hamster happy? Just being respectful of them, remembering that they're not on your sleeping schedule, so they're probably not going to be messed with in the beginning of the day or like early. Let them come out naturally. Obviously take care of them. Try not to abuse them or be so rough. Feeding them treats, interacting with them daily, even if it's just talking outside their cage or talking to them throughout the day. You can even maybe you can like bond with your hamster with like sitting in a tub or like a playpen or like some enclosed area while you're like reading a book, or just anything. That way they can get around you a lot more and they begin to like grow a bond with you. This one says, how to tame my hamster. This one is like it can be like a really in-depth video on how to tame your hamster. But if you get a hamster and your hamster isn't tamed, obviously if it's new, give them a bit to be able to settle down and get used to everything first. And then you can start hand feeding treats if they're open to it. If not, you'll know, because they will literally take off or they won't accept a treat from your hand. If they won't take it from your hand, you can just slowly and gently place it down next to them, and that way they can get used to it. But remember just to move slow, because they're still scared of you. So the slower you move, the better chances that you have in not scaring them and making the taming process a little bit more difficult. You can also, like I talked about in my previous point, is the bathtub bonding, or like sitting in an enclosed area. So when you let them out to like cage clean or anything, you can always just have them around you a little bit and just talk to them, and eventually they'll start to warm up to you. But don't try to force them to be okay with you. Some hamsters just don't enjoy human interaction that much, and they would rather be on their own a lot. But hand feeding definitely goes a great way. Just make sure your hands are clean and don't smell like anything. No scented soaps, no scented like lotions or anything. Don't eat and then try to interact with your hamster. Someone said, my hamster is not running on his wheel. This probably be the last question I answer. Well, okay, so here's the last question I'm gonna answer. And someone said, my hamster is not running on his wheel. If your hamster isn't running on their wheel, it's a high probability that the wheel is just not big enough. Most people will buy like your kits for your hamsters, and the wheel for those 9 times 10 aren't the right size. Unless you're getting a dwarf hamster, then maybe you're pushing it depending on which hamster cage you get. But more than likely the wheel just is not big enough, and your hamster would rather not hurt itself running on this wheel anymore, so they just won't run it. Just know, just because your hamster's running on this wheel does not mean your hamster don't enjoy running on their wheel. Hamsters run a lot, so they run about, I think, like up to 5 miles a day. So definitely make sure your hamster has a wheel that's adequate for their size. If you need like more videos talking about hamster wheels, I will link one. I believe I talked about it in one of my videos before, but if not, then I'll link another video. But definitely make sure you get a wheel that's the right size for your hamster. Also, it helps if you do worry or you notice that your hamster is always falling off his wheel when he's running. You can get one that's wider, so that way when they're running, they're not swiveling off of it. Or you can also get one that's enclosed, like the wooden wheel. I used to use that for my previous hamster Chubbs, and it really helped because he used to sometimes fall off. And that was me answering Google's most frequently asked questions about hamsters. If you enjoyed this video and you enjoy my videos, of course you can subscribe to my channel and also ring the bell to be notified of every future upload. But yeah, if you have any more questions that you feel like I should have answered or you wish that I did, you can either ask them down in the comment section below and I will answer them, or we can just request I do a part 2 of this, but answering your guys' questions, hamster questions. I think that could also be really nice to do. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you all in my next week's video. Bye.